I am what you would call a theme park nerd, I guess. The secrets, the history, the lore. I know it all. But I never really went to the parks alone until this year. I felt like I wasn't using my annual pass enough, and I'm just really weird about wasting money. So now, whether or not someone wants to go, I'm pretty much at a park every day. This has caused me to start taking my fandom much further than ever before. I've actually been acquiring props from the parks and displaying them all over my apartment. Now, these aren't just props anyone can get. They are ones that are only available to me because of the people I know who work in the parks. For example, the noisy cricket guns from the display case in Men in Black at Universal. I have 2. The teeth from the shark on the Jaws ride. I've got 3. I know these seem like they'd be impossible to get, but you'd be surprised at the hookups some team members have. Our story begins, though, when I was offered a prop from the Mummy ride. I knew a guy who worked maintenance at Universal. Apparently he found a golden scarab which had fallen off of one of the sets and landed beneath the track. He told me he would sell it to me for a surprisingly cheap price. Now, if you're a fan of that ride, you may already know the backstory behind it, where Universal is making a sequel to the original Mummy film, titled Revenge of the Mummy. The film's props, molds, and concept drawings are on display inside the queue and are supposedly cursed, according to the story. I guess they tried using actual historical props and it backfired on them hard, causing various accidents and plagues to occur with the team. As you would expect, a prop like that sounded pretty intriguing. So the next day I met my friend outside the Mummy and Venmo'd him the agreed upon amount, before he quickly shoved a small wrapped item into my hands. He seemed a bit anxious, so I didn't really make much small talk with him at that point, and I just let him be on his way. Desperate to see my new treasure, I strode over to the arcade next to the ride and unraveled the small piece of cloth. The item was absolutely beautiful, polished and golden with some actual weight to it. It honestly felt too nice to be a prop from a theme park. Either way, I was ecstatic as I rolled it back up and put it in my pocket. Not too sure what else I should do while I was there, I figured I might as well try to ride the coaster and see where the scarab had actually fallen off. I headed into the attraction, and a quick 20 minutes later, I was getting onto the ride vehicle. I was glad because even though it was full, I got the back corner, which I felt would probably be the best place to look around and possibly find where it had fallen off. Once the ride started, I began leaning all the way over to the side and squinting my eyes, trying to look out as far as I could. The person next to me probably thought I was really weird. Then we entered the scene where the guards pop up, and I saw a spot on the wall that could have been where the prop came from. It was near this pile of jewels, kind of around where the secret King Kong prop is, on the left-hand side. Immediately as I saw the location, I heard a whisper in my ear, only I couldn't make out what it was saying. I turned to my right, thinking it was the guy sitting next to me, and saw something that, still to this day, I can't explain. There were no passengers on the vehicle with me, which immediately sent me into a panic.
Give it back.
I heard from the ceiling above, and instantly realized that's what the whisper had been saying before. Approaching the wall where the scarabs crawl out towards you, the vehicle lunged backwards down the track. This is what it normally did, only after a few seconds, I could tell it wasn't the same. It didn't stop. I just kept falling back further and further into the darkness.
Give it back.
I heard as I looked up and saw the mummy's face projected into the darkness. As I reached for my pocket and tried to pull the prop out, the vehicle began spinning around uncontrollably. I finally got my hand inside, but my leg was wedged between the side of the seat and the lap bar. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't pull it out. Vomit spewed from my mouth as the vehicle continued to spin faster and faster backwards into the blackness of the abyss. I wondered where I was going, where he was taking me, and that was when I began to hear the screams. Not theme park screams from some guests on a ride either. The actual wails of people in agony began to pierce my eardrums. Meanwhile, the room began to heat up, and I could see the mild blur of flames in the distance. The vehicle turned towards a deep pit of flames, with hundreds of melting bodies in various states of decomposition. They were reaching out, begging for me to save them. when the rubber on my lap bar began to melt and drip onto my bare skin, instantly burning me. As I cried out in agony, I realized that the melting of the lap bar had allowed me to free up my pocket and pull out the golden scarab. As I descended towards the pool of lava, I ripped the scarab out of my pocket and threw it out onto the track. My face began to burn as everything went black. I awoke at the end of the coaster. The lap bars lifted, and all the other passengers began to get off the ride. Barely able to move, I checked my arms and face, confirming that I was no longer injured. And when I checked my pocket, I noticed the prop was still gone. "Missing something?" a guy unloading the car asked. "Yeah, something fell out of my pocket." "Oh, that's too bad. Care to describe it to me and we can look for it?" "No, that's okay. Believe me." At that point, I wanted nothing more to do with that prop. I stepped off the ride, wiping sweat from my forehead, and headed towards the exit. I started wondering if maybe the whole thing was just a messed up fever dream I had when I passed out on the ride. At least until I was approached by that same employee at the exit to the store. He asked me if I was okay, in a very concerned tone. I told him I was, and that I had just gotten sick on the ride, and had maybe some kind of weird hallucination. Then he pulled out his phone and showed me a picture of the ride vehicle I was supposed to be on during the attraction. Only I wasn't on it. He said he had been up in the tech booth, and he was the only person who saw it. Then he handed me this business card that said Night Owl Investigations. Told me I should call them. Yesterday I finally called the number, and spoke with a lady named Maya. She told me that my story wasn't all that unique. Apparently strange things happen at those parks all the time. In fact, there's currently a mother and son missing who disappeared on the Cat in the Hat ride, a strange curse that looms over the Jaws ride, and even an animatronic that leaves the attraction on its own from E.T. She asked if I'd be willing to assist them by being part of a group who secretly documents these anomalies at the park, anytime they visit. Considering my interest and knowledge of the parks, I told her I'd be a perfect candidate. I guess now I might find something even more rare than the props inside the rides. I'll keep you all posted with what I find. Hey, it's Mr. Freaky. I hope you all enjoyed that original Creepypasta. What's your weirdest theme park experience? Leave it in the comments and let's discuss. Also, make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so, as well as join the Discord to keep up with the community. Have a horrific evening, everyone, and remember to stay spooky, my friends.